Welcome to another Telltale Books video, continuing my J.G. Ballard series, this time with his 14th published work on my listing of his works, titled The Voices of Time, and this one was published in issue number 99 of New Worlds in October of 1960. So we're well into the new decade here, and well into Ballard's mature work now. The Voices of Time has been reprinted a lot. It's one of Ballard's most popular tales. I have The Voices of Time in the Great Science Fiction Stories, Volume 22 of 1960, edited by Isaac Asimov and Martin H. Greenberg. I also have it in Chronopolis and Other Stories. I have an old copy of that book. That's actually a book club edition. That's from 1971. And of course, it's in the complete stories of J.G. Ballard, which is where I've read it this time. I have read it previously in Chronopolis and Other Stories, but that was many, many years ago. So I did reread it. In The Voices of Time, a sort of pandemic outbreaks worldwide, where people are slowly and mysteriously lapsing into comas. But there isn't a viral cause of this. They aren't, there's medical science can't bring them out of it. Everybody's just lapsing into comas and staying there. A guy named Powers is a former employee at a medical research facility and is slowly becoming more tired himself. So he's slowly succumbing to the same thing. He and a former colleague who died have been genetically manipulating animals and insects to try to bring out some dormant genes to try and get them to be able to keep going and try to find ways to stop this sleeping sickness. And they by doing these genetic experiments, these animals are exhibiting characteristics that seem to be preparing them for a major, major change in the Earth's environment. But they don't last. They eventually all meet some horrible end, and they just can't stop this. Things just keep going this way. People keep lapsing into comas. A character that Powers experimented on made some changes to his brain to eliminate the part that regulates sleep so that he wouldn't feel the need to go to sleep. This guy starts monitoring messages that are coming from other stars. Powers asks him, well, what the heck is this? It looks like some kind of countdown. He says it is. It's the Voices of Time. It's counting down the number of seconds left for each of those planets where these signals are coming from. Some have a lot more than others. And so what this guy has discovered is that the entire universe is slowly decaying, slowly dying. This is something that I don't know if physicists still think of this as a possibility, but there was an idea when I was young called the heat death of the universe. It was the idea of that because of entropy being true, that every energetic system would lose energy to heat, and that eventually all energy would be converted over to useless heat energy. And at that point, atoms would stop combining, stars would stop shining, matter would fall apart, and it would essentially be the death of the universe due to entropy. And that's basically what Ballard is talking about here. But Ballard being Ballard, the story is very beautiful and very surreal with a lot of really great imagery and some typical Ballardian images like empty swimming pools and clocks and deserts. This story seems to start a period of Ballard's work, which would result in the drowned world and the crystal world and the wind from nowhere, where Ballard was kind of deeply into these different ways that our world could decay and end, that things could break down and our world would no longer be hospitable to us. Later on, he came a little more focused on the ways that our technology and society would force us into um, certain types of traps and losing ourselves, dystopian situations. But at this time, it wasn't technology; it was nature that would be kicking our butts. And so I think this is the first story Ballard has written that really, really starts digging into these end of the world themes. So I think this is an important story. I think this is a beautiful story. This is a very well written story. This is a very literate story. And it's also a very enjoyable story. I really enjoyed it. The characters are good. The writing is really good. This is great science fiction. It's a Voices of Time is a definite top tale. I would recommend this to all of you to read. Well, if you're more into Star Wars type adventure or Sarah J. Maas romantasy, probably not for you, but for everyone else that really loves that really loves the best that fiction has to offer, The Voices of Time should be on your to be read list. It's a novella. No, it's a novelette. So longer than a short story, but not super long. You can read it in a single sitting. And it is available. The most recent source, which I know you can buy new off Amazon because I did it just a few months ago, it's the Big Book of Science Fiction Stories by Anna Jeff Vandermeer. It's a big trade paperback, Voices of Time, and a lot of other great science fiction is in it. So I would recommend that's where you go out and find Voices of Time. Unless you want, you'd have to find a used edition like I did, but they're out there and they're great. They're not super expensive, but you can get the complete stories if you really want to dig into J.G. Ballard. So have you read The Voices of Time? Leave your comments. Leave any other comments about Ballard that you wish. And I hope you'll like this video. I hope you'll subscribe to our channel, and I hope you'll come back for a lot more. This was only number 14. The next story by Ballard is called Studio 5, The Stars, which was published in February of 1960. And I'll be here doing these.